This might be Dokkan's biggest mistake yet. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video for you here today. As many of you guys know, there has been an issue with the conversion of the global Dokkan campaign pity coins and automatically converting to their respective Dokkan Fest and Teal coins. So in this video, we are going to break down that problem and what it means for Dokkan players, how the problem occurred, and what might Dokkan be able to do to fairly compensate players for this massive mistake. So let's first start by breaking down the problem. So as part of the global Dokkan campaign, you know that as they release new LRs, you are able to build up these new pity coins in order to exchange for any one of the major celebration units, right? 10 coins per summon on either the Dokkan Fest or the Carnival. Now, at any point, you can exchange these for either the Dokkan Fest or Teal coin counterparts, or if you build up enough, 500 of each, you can use one to grab one of the units you may have missed. Now, at the end of these major celebrations, typically your coins are automatically converted to their respective coins. So if you had, 300 red pity coins, they would be automatically converted to 300 red coins at the end of the celebration. And then the same goes for your teal coins. So this was the plan, all right? In fact, they were planned to exchange on August 18th. The conversion was scheduled to happen, but this was before the extension of the global campaign was started with the conversion of the August Dokkan Fest into an LR and made part of the global Dokkan campaign. So when that occurred, there was an extension on the date for the exchangeable coins, right, which was the 25th. So they extended the date in which these were supposed to be exchanged, meaning you had more time to consider after summoning for Gohan or after summoning on the Peppy Gals banner to decide who you wanted to exchange your coins for, or how you wanted to divvy up your exchange coins between Carnival and Dokkan Fest coins. You were supposed to have till the 25. However, like I said, the original date was set for the 18th, and it does seem that somehow something got lost in translation where the actual in-game the time wasn't set on the in-game. And so basically what happened is when you went into the Baba shop anytime after the 18th, which was the original exchange date, your coins automatically got converted when you exited back out, causing players to lose whatever coins they had. So like in my case here, you can see I had 630 red coins and 13 carnival coins that I was waiting to exchange for either dumping them all into carnival coins or grabbing my last copy of Gogeta for that rainbow copy, which I'm sure there are a lot of players in similar situations. So basically all those coins that were supposed to be used to exchange for units was now lost. Now, here is the so that that's what happened. Now here's the issue with that. The issue with that is those people who had waited to make their exchange, right? If you were waiting till the very end to see how all of your various summons went, you now completely lost your opportunity to get these. And 7 days too early at that. So that's a big issue, right? Because I want to remind you that these coins, right, that to get one of these units, that's 500 coins. That's 2,500 stones spent to get one of these units, right? If we were to put that into monetary, right, let's say the average 90 stone pack costs $30, right? So in America, we'll say American dollars, right? And that's for 90 stones, or 25, right? So for 2,500 stones, right? Let's do the math here. right? That's about $800 right there, lost for somebody, you know, for somebody who was waiting to exchange. That's in real money value. That's $800 lost. And why is this important? Well, obviously, most people, right, are probably free to play playing these games, but people who actually spent money on this, right, that's a big issue. That is actual real world money lost here. And that's kind of why I think that this is a much bigger deal. And I made the post on Twitter that I did about this being a big deal, because there's no easy fix to this solution. Due to the fact that now we're talking a real world money situation, right? I mean, Dokkan has had errors before, right? Some of their biggest errors include the infamous, right, Super Saiyan 3 UI Goku fiasco during the step-ups in 2021, where basically, right, if you summoned on the banner where you were promised that you would be able to summon for UI Goku, he basically was not featured at all, except in the very rare instance of he was specifically your last character on the last step of your, you know, 200 stone summon, right? So there was only one way to get him instead of him being featured throughout the banner like is promised. And so as such, for that, because that essentially became false advertisement, they refunded all stones summoned on that banner. Honestly, this was great for me. I was still free to play at the time, and I actually managed to pull UI Goku in this. Like, this was an amazing time for everybody involved, because you basically got, you know, 3 rounds on the step up for free because of this mistake. So, but that's the only other time they've ever given like a full refund for Stone Summon. Another similar situation happened with false advertisement. I believe it was in 2017, where let's see if I can find it. Yeah, right, the Kefla situation, right? When she was released, they basically false advertised the rates and gave everybody 300 stones as compensation. Now this one was very, very quick to change, because, right, displaying false rates is actually illegal, so they were very quick to fix this one. Obviously a full refund would have been best, but they compensated everybody with 300 stones there. And actually, now that I think about it, I think there was one other instance. I'm not sure what year it was, but if I can find it here, the Super Saiyan 3 Broly banner, I think, also had a similar issue where they showed his TUR instead of his SSR, advertising that his TUR would be summonable. And I do believe for that one, I'm not sure what year that happened in, but I do believe on that one they fully refunded everybody for summoning on that one, instead of doing a flat refund. So, you know, it's not like Dokkan hasn't had bugs this sport, and it's not like they haven't found ways to fix this. But again, this is very similar to a situation like we had in 2021, or now that Super Saiyan 3 Broly is, since where we're talking real world money spent, and they kind of have to do something. And seeing as they didn't just go into like, hey, okay, here's your coins back, makes me believe that this is not something that is easy to fix, right? And I kind of point out here in the Twitter post, and we're going to kind of go through some of the ideas here as to what they could do and what is fair compensation, right? So one of the big things people are talking about is a rollback, right? Which is basically like reset the clock on Dokkan, more or less, and to before the coins were lost, and so that everybody gets their coins back. Now, this can work, and this is probably one of the better solutions. However, right, the further we get away from the original date, the harder this becomes, right? Because while it is theoretically possible, and you know, after talking to guys like Proton G and a few other of the, you know, guys who really inspect the data, you know, this is possible, but it depends on how specific they are, the devs, right, when assigning, right, basically when they go into the data and they start to assign what to push back. They got to be really specific on how they do it, right? They have to get down to the T, right? Specifically roll back coins on this date. All right, look for coins that were exchanged, right? So I had a misconception here that they would not be able to know exactly the coins that we had exchanged, but according to people I've talked to with the data, they actually can. So it just means they have to be very specific when they tell the game to roll back without causing any other issues, right? They can't just roll back the clock as they normally would, like they did in the situation with where is it? I think it's in 2018 as well, right? Like they did with the Super Saiyan 3 Vegetas who just showed up into people's box. They literally just rolled it back after a day, and then they took this out of everybody's box who had it accidentally dropped in their box. Not that bad of a deal, since no stones were spent in this situation. So it was an easy fix, right? The thing that we have to consider with this type of rollback is some people may have exchanged coins after this. Some people may have summoned on banners after this occurred, right? Like I personally summoned for the Peppy Gals banner, right? So if they do a complete rollback without being specific in their query and how they do it, it's possible people could lose anything that they had done after this time, to include summoning on characters. And so that's obviously something we don't want to happen. Now, some of the other suggestions I have seen are giving everybody a free unit like they did at 10th anniversary, or just like a flat 500 stones or 500 coins for everybody, right? Just everybody gets 500 coins, regardless of whether you summon or not, and call it an even. So that way you essentially get a free unit. And it's like, these sound like great options, and they are great options if you didn't hit biddy or you're someone who just barely hit it, right? Because now you get your unit, right? And not much is lost, right? But if you're someone like me or a big whale, right? Somebody who went above that 500 mark, right? My 600 coins, that's roughly 3,000 stones spent. So, right? This is kind of, this would be a downgrade to what I had lost, right? And again, if we're talking real world money, that's a lot of real world money, right? And so this becomes an issue, right? Because that is not an adequate compensation for what was lost. Or someone further, I know people that were sitting on 1,000 coins deciding which 2 units or a dupe to get, right? That's a lot of coins. That's 5,000 stones spent, right? So only now being able to get 1 unit when they had previously had the ability to get 2. Again, that person, if for them, that they lose entirely in this situation. So again, this is why it really comes down to how they decide to compensate, because anything less than what you had before, right, is a loss. And I mean, there's really some big grounds legally for them as developers of live service games to be in some hot water, anything less than an equivalent exchange. Now, I want to just kind of talk a little bit more on this type of exchange through after talking with Proton 10MG here. Like I said earlier, right, one of the things they can do is the rollback. That seems likely, seems less likely, because the further we get away from the original date, the harder that becomes, and the more specific they have to be with things, right? Because it doesn't account for, right, if I go and I bought 200 coins during this time for Rose, right, that wouldn't be accounted for. So we have to, the AGL one, I should be specific there, 200 coins for the AGL Rose. Let's say I did that, right? That's not being accounted for here. And so they have to be really specific on looking at all of those things. Now, after talking with Proton and a few others, it does seem like one likely option, since they can track the coins that we had via the summons that we did, and they should be able to track what was specifically converted. And since they can do that, one of the easiest options would probably be just to gift every player the amount that they had lost. So like in my case, I would just get re-gifted, right, LR pity coins, so they would have to reintroduce the pity coins into the shop and reintroduce the units into the shop, and basically just gift the pity coins that were lost. So that is one possibility, but again, this, that could cause other problems, right? By reintroducing those. It does mean people now just have extra coins, which isn't a bad thing. But it really, it seems like the logical, most easiest answer. But again, if it were that simple, they would have already done it and not put out this news. They would have just done it. So it seems like they're probably thinking beyond that as a possibility. It might not be that simple. So it really comes down to what they decide to do. I've seen other people say, just give a stone compensation. Again, right, 500 stones for somebody in a situation like myself, or who, had greater than 1,000, 1,500, right? Stone compensation, you're talking, minimum 2,500 stones here, which is not, just anything less than that would be a huge downgrade. And I don't think they're going to hand out that many stones to people. I also have seen that, people are discussing here, like, we'll see if I can pull it up. I've seen this a few times. I'm not really sure who started talking this, but I've seen people repeating this most, which means this does seem like this is coming from someone else. But right, just let people exchange their red and teal coins, for the original equivalent coins, or letting them exchange, right? Just putting, the 4 GDC LRs into the regular red and teal shop and letting them exchange from there. Both of these solutions don't factor the people who swapped back and forth between their coins, right? So like if I'm only able to exchange my red coins back for red Dokkan Fest GDC coins, this could work as long as they give us the opportunity to still exchange back for teal coins. But if it's just straight from the shop, right? Let's say I want to Gogeta all that 600 red coins here. I now can't exchange for the Gogeta that I wanted, right? So there's a lot of factors in there, and it's not just as simple as being like, hey, just exchange in the shop with what you have. There's a lot more, I think, that's going to have to go into it than that, because again, anything less than what you had is a downgrade, a major downgrade in this case. So we really have to look at what's possible. But again, after talking to some of the data miners, it does seem like the best solution is to just gift people the coins and reopen the GDC coin shops. So hopefully that's what they decide to do, but we won't really know until they make a decision. And again, the fact that the decision is taking this long makes me believe that it might not be that simple. So guys, that is it. That's kind of the problem in a nutshell. They exchanged our coins too early, so now we can't exchange for the GDC units that we had wanted to use our pity for, or to convert to the coins that we wanted. Right? This is a major issue because now we're talking about major stones spent and real world money lost. So that is it for our video, guys. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, hey, what do you think of this whole situation? I've seen a lot of people mention, different ideas here about what they could do to exchange, right? But we really, I really want to hear, for those that didn't get to respond here, what you guys think about the whole situation in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.